Are your adrenal glands part of your health problem? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ask Dr. Pickel Show. And today we want to talk about the adrenal glands. Many people have health issues, whether they be chronic health issues, autoimmune conditions. They'll come to our clinic and they'll say, yeah, I think my adrenal glands are having problems. And, they may have already gone to their other doctor too. And many of them will tell me, they'll say, yeah, I told my other doctor I had adrenal issues. And they said, no, there's really no such thing. Your blood you don't show that you have Addison's disease. You don't show you have Cushing's disease. So you don't have any adrenal problems. But can we just accept that? Do we just move on? No, we've got to find out, hey, is there a functional adrenal problem? It doesn't mean your adrenal glands are in this extreme disease state. It means, hey, my adrenal glands are not functioning properly, and absolutely that exists, but it's just not checked for because there's no drug for it. So, all right, so let's go right in with adrenal issues here. So the thing about adrenal issues is they typically they typically help you with quite a few things. They help to manage your blood sugar, which we'll talk more about that. They help to manage your sleep-wake cycle. They help to manage your energy levels through the day. They help to affect your immune response. They help to affect response to stress, and they affect your blood pressure. Actually, they have other effects too, but we're not going to get into all of those. Now, what would affect the adrenal glands? Why would they potentially have problems? And is it always that I get adrenal fatigue, which means low adrenal function, or can I get high adrenal function? Yeah, you can get high or low. So that's what we want to differentiate here with some of this. Is your problem more of a high adrenal function issue or a low adrenal function issue? Because there's different things that affect the adrenal glands, especially if you get any type of infection. If you get a bacterial infection, a candida infection, a parasitic infection, a viral infection, any of these things will challenge your immune system, cause inflammation, and your adrenal glands make a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol is like the fire department. It's coming in acting as an anti-inflammatory to help put the fire out, to help get inflammation under control. So if you just got an infection or you just had a trauma, injury, high stress event, something like that, yeah, then you probably have increased cortisol for a period of time. Now, if it goes on and on and on, yeah, that cortisol starts to stay high too long. That's when the problems really come in. And especially if it continues to go on and on, day after day, month after month, year after year, well, don't you think at that point your adrenal glands are going to say, gosh, I'm making a lot of cortisol every day, day and night, and now I don't feel I can continue. So now we start to get adrenal fatigue, adrenal insufficiency. So we've got to kind of look at the differences between the two here, because not only infections, but physical stress or trauma. If you've been in an accident, if you've had a surgery, any type of physical stress or trauma on the body could potentially, of course, cause the stress responses of the adrenals. Also, emotional stresses. Yeah, my boss yelled at me all day today. My spouse yelled at me all evening. I had a death in the family. I had this, that. There's all kinds of things, again, too, from the emotional side that can be stresses or traumas that affect the adrenals, and then chemical stresses. So this could be anything from medications, especially like steroids. Anytime you take prednisone or a steroid type drug, yeah, really hard on the adrenal glands. But there's a lot of different chemicals, even illegal drugs, alcohol, different things that affect the adrenal glands. Any type of chemical stress that comes into our system, whether it be internal or external, even chemicals in our environment. Let's say you live in an agricultural area and they spray herbicides and pesticides a lot. Again, there's so many examples here, but you kind of get the gist of it. All right, so what does this do? What if I have high cortisol? What is that going to feel like? How am I going to suffer from that? Well, first of all, we're typically going to see that your blood sugar runs higher. We're going to see this usually in people who have maybe been diagnosed with diabetes or insulin resistance, but just the excess cortisol in itself pushes up your blood sugar and can start to cause weight gain. And then, maybe my insulin doesn't work as good or my medications aren't working as well for my diabetes control because I've got, a person say, hey, I got stressed out today and my blood sugar went up. Well, it's because your cortisol went up. There's also people who say, hey, when I check my blood sugar, because I have diabetes, the person telling me this, they'll say, when I check my blood sugar when I first get out of bed in the morning, like the doctor told me, it's always high. Well, yeah, it is, because you have high cortisol in the morning. You haven't even eaten yet. Why would your blood sugar be high? It's because of cortisol. So again, these are signs that we've got to look at with this, but usually it's going to be on that high blood sugar side. Your sleep-wake cycle, if you have high adrenal function, it typically is hard for you to fall asleep. It's like, hey, I feel tired during the day, but then when I go lay down at bedtime, the brain won't shut off. I feel I'm kind of ready to go once it's time for bed, or in the evening when I'm supposed to be tired and ready to go to sleep. Very common with high cortisol issues, adrenal hyperfunction. All right, and then energy levels. Well, usually because of the excess cortisol and what's going on in your system to cause that, yeah, the energy levels are going to be lower. You're not going to transport things as well. But with high cortisol, you may have normal energy through the day, but you may be tired because you're not getting enough sleep at night because it's hard to fall asleep. All right, and then the immune system. So with high cortisol levels, yeah, you're keeping down inflammation, but that high cortisol that you're using to help your immune system also has those negative effects. It elevates your blood sugar. It blocks thyroid hormones. It blocks insulin. It blocks other hormones, even your sex hormones. It actually has all kinds of negative effects, especially on your gut, the gut wall. High cortisol is damaging to that, which opens you up to all kinds of problems there with your bacterial balance there. Good bacteria to bad bacteria was called your microbiome, and also opens you up to other bad guys that can live in the gut like candida and parasites. And then also stress response. So again, if high cortisol is high, yeah, you might be able to modulate stress okay, but again, it'll just keep bumping up that high cortisol. And then what's going to happen too is if your adrenal glands are having problems, you'll usually start releasing excess what's called aldosterone. And aldosterone causes your blood pressure to raise. Normally, our blood pressure has to change when we go from sitting to standing, laying to standing, and with excess adrenal function, high adrenal function, hyperfunction, we may get too much aldosterone, and this could affect our blood pressure and push it up higher at times when it shouldn't be. So that's a potential problem there too. Now, on the other side of that, what if we've got more adrenal fatigue? What if we've been having this infection or this stress or, different things going on in our life that are affecting us year after year, or we've got these chronic health issues? Eventually those adrenal glands say, hey, I've been working the day shift and night shift day after day. I can't keep up with this person. So they start to fail. And the effects of that, of course, are not good, because on blood sugar, what we're going to see is usually low blood sugar. So you're going to go more hypoglycemic. Probably going to find yourself maybe not very hungry, but especially in the mornings when it's time to eat breakfast, you'll be like, gosh, I don't have an appetite and I have to eat something. It makes me feel nauseated. Yeah, that's because your body's in fight or flight mode. Your adrenal glands are not making enough cortisol. So, but again, usually your blood sugar is going to be low because your cortisol is not maintaining steady blood sugar through the day, and you may get roller coastering of blood sugar, where if you go too long between meals, your blood sugar can drop, and especially while you sleep. So in the sleep scenario with the low adrenal function, you're going to find that you wake up a lot during the night because your brain is like, hey, I got to have blood sugar all night long. I've got to work. Adrenal glands get to work here. Your adrenal glands are like, hey, I can't make enough cortisol to keep you asleep, but I'll help you out. I'll make some adrenaline. Adrenaline will get blood sugar to the brain, but it's going to wake you up. So it's like, why am I awake? It's 3 a.m. I'm wide awake. Now, if it's just a little bit of adrenaline, you'll sleep, but you won't get into a deep sleep. It'll be like, gosh, I woke up, I slept, but I don't really feel like I slept. If it's a little more adrenaline, you wake up and you can fall back to sleep. If it's a little more adrenaline, you wake up and you can't fall back to sleep until the adrenaline wears off. And for some people, it's time to get up by the time it wears off. And they're like, gosh, I finally fall asleep at 5:50 a.m. and I got to get up at 6. So that's, again, low adrenal function. And also what's going to happen is your energy levels are going to drop lower. Your cortisol is not there to really transport blood sugar as well. So again, your energy levels are going to drop easier. Unless you overexert yourself, then you may release some adrenaline. You may get a little burst, but then after that, you're going to crash. And usually if you get that adrenaline response too, you're also going to notice, gosh, I was just doing something easy and my heart started racing and my chest felt constricted and my anxiety went up. Yeah, these are adrenaline responses to low adrenal function. All right, and then also you're not going to be making enough cortisol, so inflammation is going to rise a lot. Your immune system is going to have some challenges here because you aren't controlling inflammation in your body. And then stress responses as they occur. So normally what happens is if, let's say we're being chased by a bear, our adrenal glands should release adrenaline. That's a normal response. We need them to because they're going to put our body in a mode that says, hey, get me away from this bear and do whatever you can to the human body to make me be able to do that. So adrenaline does have its purpose then. Yeah, speed up the heart, change the breathing, affect the arterial constriction dilation. Different things are going to happen. But if you're getting this stress response and you're not running from a bear, it's like, gosh, I'm just sitting in this chair watching TV. Why is my heart racing? Chest constriction, anxiety, again, stress response at the wrong time, or stress will affect you easier. So if you are having a bad day and someone says something to you, you may over-respond in a negative way because, again, you're in this stress response. Things will affect you more than they should. All right, and then also what can happen is because your adrenal glands are more on the fatigue side, they may not release enough aldosterone, which is that blood pressure hormone, so then your blood pressure can drop low. If you ever go to the doctor and they say, oh, you have really low blood pressure, well, that's better than high. No. If your blood pressure is really low, if your blood pressure is lower than probably about a 110 over a 70, and you're not a real active person that exercises a lot and does a lot of cardiovascular work, yeah, you've got most likely an adrenal problem. And really, there's no good drugs for a low adrenal problem. So again, as far as bringing up blood pressure. So the thing is, though, is it's getting that aldosterone up. And especially if you're like, hey, whenever I get out of bed and stand up, whoa, I feel dizzy or everything goes black or I see stars. That's an adrenal problem. So again, it's looking at these other sides and other issues with this type of thing. But again, so there is a difference between high adrenal function, low adrenal function. It's just finding out which is happening to you and addressing that. Now, what I did also is there's two things I like to use. One thing, when a person has high adrenal function, I'll use a supplement. I mean, again, it's still finding out the cause. We got to find out why are your adrenals having this problem. Do you have some infection? Do you have chemicals, heavy metal? Do you have stresses? Do you have something affecting you that's doing this to your adrenal glands? So that's the thing we got to figure out. But in the meantime, to help out, yeah, if you need something for high adrenal function, that's going to be more of an adrenal supplement that involves more what are called adaptogens, things to kind of calm down the system and help affect the way stress affects you. And they can actually work really well. So I'll put down a link for that. I'll put it under high adrenal function. Now, if you have low adrenal function, we need things to help your adrenal glands. We maybe need something with some B vitamins and some adrenal glandular in it and things like that to help increase. There's actually a few different things that can help with that. So on either side of that spectrum, either you need help for one or the other, and hopefully that will support you until you can get rid or deal with the actual cause of the problem. All right. Well, hopefully everybody got some great information about this. God bless, and I will see you on the next video. And also watch this other video. I think you'll really enjoy this one. All right. Take care.